So it's now been over 3 months since the Nintendo Switch 2 has been released, and while everyone has already covered it to death, no one is talking about how much value you can still get out of this, the Nintendo Switch OLED. If you're new here, my name is Gabriel and I create videos on home studio tech to help you build and upgrade your setups with gear that I actually use. If that sounds like you, make sure that you get subscribed and don't forget to like this video if you end up enjoying the content. Even though the Switch 2 can be considered like a Switch Pro, for a lot of the spec chasers out there, this might be the better option because it does have a lot of the better specs. But something that can be overlooked about items like these, the Switch OLED, is that it has a lower price point of entry. Just looking local to me here in Arizona, you can find the Switch OLED anywhere between $150 to $250 depending on what you're getting with the purchase. The value here not only comes from buying the system itself used, but you can also get a lot of accessories and a lot of used games with it as well as part of a huge bundle, something that you can't get with the Switch 2, at least not for now. And we all know that Nintendo never truly drops the price of their games, and instead, in 2025, they're actually going up. Sales for these games are actually pretty limited, with almost every game retaining its value and staying at that full price for a long time. Because of this, going with the used route and snagging a bundle at less than retail value that comes with a lot of these games is always a great option. Not only do you win at getting more games, but you also get a lot of value by going with a console used, especially if you're already looking for a special edition console. With new systems, special editions are always going to come a year or two after launch, and the Switch OLED, because it is already a few years old, all those special editions are already out there and available. I did see a few Switches near me with Pokemon and Zelda special editions, still for a good price, that is going to look great if you enjoy playing those games, or if the person you're buying it for already enjoys playing those games as well. But the real reason I always recommend going with the used route is because the lower price point of entry also allows a lot more people to join in and playing these consoles. Not everyone can just drop $400 to $500 on a new Switch 2 console, but because of the availability of the OLED, buying it used is a good alternative. Not only do you save money, but you also can enjoy all the same games that are out there on both systems. It also allows new Nintendo users to try out the Switch in the handheld system mode without needing to go all out and buying the most expensive thing. Even just remembering myself being a kid, I didn't really care a lot about getting the best specs out of a system. If I'm right, a lot of you guys really just cared also about playing your games with your friends or your family. And because of that, something that me and my brother always did was rather go with a refurbished console so that we can save some money and also get a bundle that maybe came with some extra controllers and games. This meant that as soon as we got home, we could both jump on the same system, back then being a GameCube, and still enjoy playing Mario Kart or Smash Bros. It also saved my mom a lot of money, which was a huge plus for us as a family. The Switch OLED is that console right now where it brings a lot of value, and it is a step above the Switch first generation that came out at the beginning. And you still can find used bundles with accessories so that you do get those extra controllers and still get home and play with friends and family to enjoy Mario Kart or Smash Bros. Still. But let's also talk about the design, because it looks and functions really similar to the Switch 2. The footprint will be a little bit smaller on the OLED over the Switch 2. It does have a slightly smaller screen with smaller Joy-Cons. And while the Switch 2 is a nice upgrade in terms of size, if you're buying it for someone that's younger, they might actually get better use out of the smaller Joy-Cons. Or if you just happen to have smaller hands and you're buying it for yourself, then the Switch OLED is also a good option. And if you do find it still uncomfortable to go with the OLED, there are a lot of cases out there that add to the ergonomics that Nintendo just missed out on when designing the Switch overall, which you honestly will need with the Switch 2 as well. It's not the best with it still being flat and really not having anywhere for your palms or for you to actually grab the system and not get finger cramps. Aside from the size, the screen is also arguably better on the OLED because you get those deep black colors and all of the same benefits that you get out of an OLED screen over an LCD panel on the Switch 2. You also have different designs to choose from, like the white version that I have here, or you can go with something that has colored Joy-Cons, or even go with a special edition OLED that I mentioned that already exists out there. Whereas with the Switch 2, you only get that matte black. The kickstand is also already better on the OLED than the first gen Switch. The microSD cards are also going to be less expensive for those that you need for the OLED over the express cards that you need on the Switch 2. And you still have a headphone jack if you still use wired headphones. The Joy-Cons still come off, and you can still enjoy playing in tabletop mode or in dock mode with the OLED screen if you want to jump to a larger screen or play co-op with more people with full-size controllers. Having the smaller Switch could also be beneficial if you're someone that travels a lot. It's actually easier to pack into a backpack, and carrying cases for it also take up a smaller footprint over what the Switch OLED carries. But the biggest benefit of the Switch OLED is that you still have access to that huge library of games that you would with the Switch 2. There's only a couple new exclusives for the Switch 2, but in general, most of the games are available for both systems. If you're looking at buying your first Switch ever, you can get access to all those games with the Switch OLED and still play through all of those same games without the need of a Switch 2. Mario Kart 8 is still a great Mario Kart game, and definitely less chaotic than Mario Kart World. All other first-party games still work just as great on the OLED. I mean, this was the system that everyone was using just a few months ago. If you like Mario games, you still have Mario Maker 2, you have Mario Wonder, and Mario Kart. If you're into Kirby games, you still have Kirby the Forgotten Land, which is a great game to pick up. And if you do like Zelda, well, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom still look great on the Switch OLED. Even the latest Pokemon game, Legends Z2A, will be available for both Switch first generation and the second generation. Not only do they look great on the OLED Switch, but when you're ready to upgrade to the Switch 2, all of those games will still be playable on that system. It does have backwards compatibility, and if you decide to upgrade to the better looking games, you can pay a small fee to upgrade to the Switch 2 versions. This is why you can go out now, buy a huge library of games, and save money on the console for less than even going with a Switch 2. And then you can upgrade later on the road when you're ready to make that step. But in the end, there's really one specific person that just won't get joy out of the Switch OLED. And I call those spec chasers. If you like to always have the best of the best, the Switch OLED might fall a little bit short. Things that you lose out on include not having a larger screen, not having VRR, not having 4K output to a TV. As someone that does play console 90% of the time, having a better output to a TV is always a better upgrade for even people like me. When it came to losing out on the OLED screen on the bigger Switch 2, I didn't really have a major preference, and I think that's because at the same time I did end up getting a larger screen. The larger Switch was just a little bit more comfortable to play on, especially when you're in portable mode, because when the game is open world, having a larger screen where you have to always look around was a little bit better to use. Even for the spec chaser though, there are still a lot of similarities between both of these systems. For one, Nintendo didn't fix the ergonomics with the Switch 2. With all the Windows gaming systems out there, they all have some sort of ergonomic grip built into the case, but Nintendo's still stuck with a flat Switch. It's still as uncomfortable without the grip, just like the Switch OLED. And even though I don't like that out of the box it's uncomfortable, I will kind of say that it does allow us to choose a different ergonomic shape depending on what you like by just throwing a case on there. I actually have two cases that I have been trialing for the Switch 2, including this D brand one that I picked up. So I will be making a fully unsponsored review of that one, as well as testing it against other cases so that you can choose the best one. For the Switch OLED, I actually have this Skull & Co one, which is what made me go with a Skull & Co one for the Switch 2. That cost a third of the price of the D brand one, but still gives you that same better ergonomic grip, so you're not just dealing with a flat Switch 2. It is still unknown just how many games are going to take full advantage of the 120Hz VRR capabilities of the Switch 2, but it definitely has all the better specs on paper over the Switch OLED, which if anything just promises that it might have better compatibility later on down the line. There will be games that are exclusive to the Switch 2 to take advantage of those specs, just like we saw with Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, while other titles will still be released for both systems, so you can still enjoy them even if you pick up a Switch OLED right now. Small note that you can also get an upgrade pack like I mentioned, so later on down the road if you decide to upgrade consoles, you can also upgrade game titles so that they look better on the Switch 2, giving you even more reason to go out there right now, buy the Switch OLED, get a bunch of games, and then if you decide that you like it and stick with a Switch gaming system, you can upgrade everything at the same time. Really, both systems are a great choice to jump into Nintendo games, but only if you truly care about the specs or need that larger screen does the Switch 2 make sense. Everything else works great and looks great on the Switch OLED, even in docked mode. You have to really ask yourself, is paying an extra $200 to $250 worth it for those extra specs on the Switch 2, or will you get more benefits out of getting extra controllers, extra games, special edition Switches, and different kinds of bundles? If you're always playing in docked and don't really pixel peep on a TV, the Switch 1 just might be the better option so that you can buy a lot of extra games with that money saved. What are your thoughts though? Is the Switch 2 worth it and paying extra for it? Or are you looking for a bargain on a used Switch OLED Special Edition? Let me know down in the comments. As always, thank you for watching. Click here to watch another one of my videos, and I will catch you in the next one.